touched base with former Governor Eddie Calvo last night to kind of maybe fold him into the conversation for some perspective. Good morning, Gov.
Good morning, Chris. How are you doing there?
We're doing pretty good. Just washed our hands. Gov, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said we'd both just washed our hands, so you're clear.
Some sanitizer on.
I've got hand sanitizers. We've got detergents. My wife and I have, of course, we're empty nesters, so we're ensuring that at least in the areas within the home that we keep everything clean and sanitized. And of course, we're also praying for all the people in Guam and the nation and the world that we can get through all this.
I wanted to ask you, Gov, we're waiting for the announcement from the governor on the declaration of a major disaster. And so I wanted to get from your perspective, when that is declared, what actually happens?
Well, with a declaration of a major disaster, similar to what we've had in the past with and Guam has experience with typhoons, with our earthquake, that entails certain, and of course laws have changed, but there's certain authorities that a governor has in an emergency, and then of course with the calling of a disaster and this communication being made to the federal government, it allows us for certain programs. Now that was in the past. Things have changed. There have been initiatives made through executive order by the President of the United States. I know the Congress had passed some legislation. They're now in an impasse on a third bill that would again deal with both the health and economic issues of the nation. So things have changed since I've been governor, but obviously with the calling of a disaster, it opens up also programs with the federal government. The issue is now for us in the past, for me, when we've had situations in Guam, it was a disaster in Guam. And, FEMA was again, participated to a great extent. This is interesting now, and the uniqueness of all, it is a disaster not only in Guam, but concurrently with the rest of the nation.
And the world.
Right.
And the world.
Wow, that wasn't very comforting, Gov.
I've a perspective here.
Right.
This is a unique situation, and I pray for the governor. I pray for all our elected leaders. The times that I had as 8 years as governor, there were certain events, whether it was the tsunami that hit Japan, where we had to move quickly. We knew that it would take 3 hours for a potential tsunami to hit the shores of Guam. We had the financial disaster of our island government when we came in, but that was something where it was strictly economic and financial in nature for the government. And then we had the North Korean crisis, which we could see the enemy. We knew where the missiles would come from, and working with the federal government and the Department of Defense, it was for us in Guam preparatory in terms of sheltering in place and perfecting that and ensuring that information was made quickly to the public. And at the same time, it was for the Defense Department to put several layers of shield between the potential enemy, which was North Korea, and Guam. But this is something different. It's insidious. My concern is, we've had 20 out of 29 of the positives that have no travel history, which means the contagion is occurring from within. And so for Guam, the crisis is twofold. It's a health crisis, and there's an economic crisis that is also occurring, and we've got to deal with it concurrently.
Wow.
I kind of feel like we can't really deal with the economic aspect of it until we deal with the public health
aspect.
Well,
front.
Two things. Well, what's going to happen? They happen concurrently because, on one hand, we have to, contain the spread of this virus within our community, and with that, we've got to make sure that those that are afflicted that the facilities in terms of health care are up to standard and up to the task. On the other end, as this moves along, and when I talk about economics, I'm talking about, let's go down to the individual and the families. People are losing jobs at a rapid pace. They're losing the ability to purchase foods and medicines. So there is, you can't say one or the other. It's both. So if people are losing jobs and having the inability to provide for themselves and their families, that is a crisis as well. So this is why, our policymakers, our leadership, both in elected as well as in leadership throughout the island, have got to work concurrently and collaboratively on dealing with these issues. And again, it's a crisis. This is something that is unique. It is happening in Guam as same as in every other community in the United States and in the world.
Governor Calvo, as a former governor of Guam, who has dealt with disasters and crisis situations, not necessarily of this magnitude, what do you think Governor Lulian Guerrero's days are like?
Oh, let me tell you, I pray for her, and I think what's happening is this. When a crisis hits, and let's say, I'll give you an example, the North Korean incident. You bring together your emergency action team, and of course at that time it was Homeland Security. We sat down with the Defense Department, direct communications with the White House in a potential impending threat. The same time there was the unfolding crisis, and it wasn't a health crisis, but it was of the economy, the drastic reduction in tourist number over a very rapid, in a very quick manner. So you bring people together, you share information, the decision makers make decisions, and there's transparency. You get this information out to the people. But as you try to deal with the crisis, folks, we're not only physical beings, we're spiritual beings. For the governor, and I mean it, you can get all the advice, and you make the best decisions that you feel are in the best interest of the people. But there are times when you in your free time, you get on your knees, and for those that have faith, and you pray for divine guidance. And whether you're a Christian or whatever other religion, and you're hopeful that the Holy Spirit can come into you and come into those around you, that when decisions are made, there is divine guidance in those decision-making process. And I must tell you, in some of the crises that have occurred when I was governor, you have people around you, and you take it all in. But then you look up to your maker, and you ask for that help, and prayers and meditation can do that as well. And I'm praying for her.
Gov, so at the the outset of all of this COVID-19, the governor and her fiscal strike, what is it? Fiscal team came out with this team. It's a team economic relief. I forget what the TEAM stands for. But basically they were saying we're going to defer 40% of BPT payments for 90 days. So it was kind of confusing, honestly. There was a lot of deferring, and then there was something about we're going to waive your credit card fees if you're paying your bills online. And then the governor's fiscal had also said that, hey, Waterworks, Power Authority, they're going to do like a payment plan. Do you think that, obviously, it's just kind of a dumb question, but do we need to go back and maybe revisit that economic plan, or do you think the governor's maybe going to hold out for something federal, some of that federal money?
I think this is no time to hold back on anything. This is time for all the leadership. This is a fluid situation. Mm-hmm. And decisions that were made yesterday, there has to be a reassessment, evaluation, looking at the situation as it unfolds today, looking at all and looking and talking to the experts, both medical, both economic in terms of the private sector, and your agency heads, and your federal partners, and then make new decisions based on where we're at now. This is not a time for the status quo. This is a time for assessment, a reevaluation, creation of policy and initiatives, and then moving on them. There will be a time to evaluate things and how we've moved forward, but this is not the time. The train has left the station. Again, when you get 20 out of 29 positive that have no travel history, the train has left that station. And what we want to do now is not to critique each other in terms of how this should have been, when it should have been done. It's about now making sure that when that train is going, and there may be a gully or a valley that this train is headed, that we do everything we can to stop this train from going in that direction. And that means all hands on deck, and that means the collective forces that what we have here in this island, together with our federal partners and of course with our leaders in Washington D.C., both the president and Congress. But it's an evolving situation.
Rapidly.
I think it's important, and I think it's important for, again, the communications lines to be clear between leadership and then also those lines of information also in terms of transparency to the general public. And that's why what you have right now with social media, with the communications that occur not only through broadcast but through the internet, we have the technological means of sharing information quickly, and it's important. We do get this information quickly to the people.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Gov, thank you so much for your time. I know you got important things to do, like, spend quality time with the wife.
And again, my wife and I have the good Lord has blessed me with a beautiful wife. Right now, I'm missing my children and grandchildren. Everyone's practicing social distancing, and my wife and I were commenting, boy, we miss our grandkids running around the house. Mm-hmm. But we are in a state of siege. But Chris and Sabrina, thank you for this opportunity for me to speak. But I think it's an opportunity now for all of us really to put both introspective, looking at what is important in our lives, with our families, with those we love, and then at the same time, all of us contributing in one way or another towards getting around through this crisis and coming out again back to some sense of normalcy. And hopefully it will happen in the near future.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Be safe.
All right. God bless you all. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
All right. 908.
That's former Governor Eddie Calvo.
Yeah, and just
giving us his perspective on what Governor Lulian Guerrero must be going through right now, and from one governor to another governor, he's praying for you.
Yeah, and he suggests that Governor Lou also do some praying.
She probably is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she is.
We all are.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was interesting, what the governor said about lines of communication being open with all, leaders, elected and